Let's start. Sources are mentioned at the last of the PDF. You can see them. Okay, now focus on the text, main text. The origin and impact of the All India Muslim League in the national movement, a political science analysis. The founding of the All India Muslim League in 1906 and its subsequent evolution represents a critical juncture in the history of the Indian national movement from a political science perspective. It signifies the institutionalization of communal politics, the failure of the Indian National Congress to establish a hegemonic secular nationalist identity, and the eventual repartition of sovereignty leading to the creation of Pakistan. Its history is a case study in the interplay between colonial statecraft, elite interest, ideological mobilization, and the dynamics of minority nationalism in a diverse society moving toward decolonization. The genesis, the political and structural origins of the Muslim League. The League formation was not an isolated event but the product of converging interest between the section of Muslim elite and the colonial state. The prevailing political context. Aftermath of the 1847 revolt. The British held Muslims partially responsible for the rebellion, leading to a period of official suspicion and neglect. Conversely, the Hindu elite, particularly in Bengal and Maharashtra, were quicker to adapt to English education and the new colonial bureaucracy. This created a perception of relative Muslim backwardness and political marginalization. The rise of the Indian National Congress, founded in 1885. The Congress claimed to represent all Indians. However, its early leadership was predominantly Hindu and its political language, while secular, was often infused with Hindu symbolism and majoritarian vision that alarmed many Muslim elites. Sir Syed Ahmad Khan, a prominent Muslim reformer, actively advised Muslims to stay away from the Congress, warning that a representative system would inevitably lead to Hindu majoritarian rule. The partition of Bengal 1905. This was the immediate catalyst. The creation of a Muslim majority province of eastern Bengal and Assam was seen by the Muslim landed aristocracy of the region, led by Nawab Salimullah of Dhaka, as a political and economic opportunity. However, the vehement Hindu Bhadralok led Swadeshi movement against the partition threatened this newfound advantage. I will repeat. However, the vehement Hindu Bhadralok-led Swadeshi movement against the partition threatened this newfound advantage. The Muslim elite felt the need for a separate political organization to protect their interests against the rising tide of Congress-led nationalism. The role of colonial policy, divide et impera. The British government under Viceroy Lord Minto actively encouraged this separatist tendency, having faced the ununified cross-communal Swadeshi agitation. They saw the utility of fostering a loyalist Muslim political force to counterbalance the increasingly assertive Congress. The similar deputation of 1906 was a pivotal movement. A group of elite Muslims led by Aga Khan met Lord Minto and formally demanded separate electorates and waited representation in any future legislative reforms. Viceroy gave them a favorable hearing, effectively blessing the formation of a communal political party. Founding and initial objectives. All India Muslim League was founded in Dhaka in December 1906. Its initial objectives, as started in 1907 Constitution, were promote among Indian Muslims a feeling of loyalty to British government and to remove any misconception about its intentions, to protect and advance the political rights and interests of Muslims, and to respectfully represent their needs and aspirations to the government. To prevent the rise of any feelings of hostility between Muslims and other communities, political science analysis. This the league began not as a separatist organization but as a communal interest group seeking to secure a favorable position for Muslims within the constitutional framework of the British Raj. Its foundational ideology was one of communal representation, not yet sovereign separation. Source integration. The role of Sir Syed Ahmad Khan is detailed in David Lalieveld Aligarh's First Generation Muslim Solidarity in British India. The politics of the similar deportation and the British role are analysed in Stanley Walport's A New History of India and the writings of the Cambridge School, such as Anil Seal's The Emergence of Indian Nationalism. Ideological and political evolution. From communalism to separatism, 1909 to 1914. The League's ideology underwent a radical transformation over 4 decades, driven by constitutional changes, political competition with the Congress, and the leadership of Muhammad Ali Jinnah. The institutionalization of communalism, the Morley Minto reforms, 1909. The League's first major success was the acceptance of its core demand in the Indian Council Act of 1909, Morley Minto reforms. The act legally embodied separate electorates for Muslims into the Indian political system. In fact, this was a watershed movement. It legally constituted Muslims as a separate political category, not just a religious community. It made political identity synonymous with religious identity and created a structural incentive for politicians to mobilize votes along communal lines. This institutionalized a divisive form of politics that would prove impossible to reverse. The interlude of nationalist cooperation, the Lucknow Pact, 1916. In a rare moment of unity, the Congress and the League signed the Lucknow Pact in 1916. The Congress accepted the principle of separate electorate, and in return, the League agreed to join the Congress in demanding self-government for India. Significance. This pact demonstrated that Hindu-Muslim political compromise was possible. However, it also meant the Congress legitimated the principle of communal representation, a decision that would haunt the secular nationalist project. The critical decade, 1937 to 1947, and the rise of Jinnah. The turning point came after provincial elections of 1937 held under Government of India Act 1935. The Congress won a massive victory and formed governments in 7 out of 11 provinces. The League performed poorly even in Muslim majority provinces. The Congress leadership, emboldened by its success, refused to form coalition governments with the League, acting in Jinnah's words as if they were the king of all. The two-nation theory crystallizes. This Congress arrogance provided Jinnah with the political ammunition to argue that Muslims could not expect justice for fair treatment in a Congress-dominated United India. He began to relentlessly promote the two-nation theory, arguing that Hindus and Muslims were two distinct nations with incompatible social laws, religious philosophies, and cultures. The Lahore Resolution, 1940. This ideological shift culminated in the Lahore Resolution, often called the what the fuck? Often called the Pakistan Resolution, which formally demanded the geographically contiguous units are demarcated into regions which should be constituted with such territorial readjustment as may be necessary, that areas in which the Muslims are numerically in a majority, as in the northwestern and eastern zones of India, should be grouped to constitute independent states in which the constituent units shall be autonomous and sovereign. From this point on, the League's sole political goal was the creation of a separate Muslim homeland, Pakistan. Source integration. The evolution of League's strategy is masterfully chronicled in Aisha Jalal's seminal work, The Sole Spokesman, Jinnah, the Muslim League, and the Demand for Pakistan, which argues that Jinnah's demand for Pakistan was a bargaining chip for greater power within a united India. The impact of 1937 elections is analysed in Pandaral Moon's Divide and Quit and B.R. Ambedkar's Pakistan or the Partition of India. The impact on the Indian national movement. The Muslim League's activities fundamentally reshaped the nature and outcome of the Indian freedom struggle. The fatal challenge to Congress representational claims. The League's existence and its two nation theory directly contradicted the Congress claim to be the sole representative of all Indian. It forced the Congress into a perpetual defensive position, having to constantly negotiate not just with the British but also with the League, which the British now recognize as the sole representative of India's Muslims. The constitutionalization of the communal problem. From the 1909 reforms onward, every constitutional discussion 1919, 1938, 1935 was dominated by the communal question. The British could now legitimately claim that transferring power was not simple, as there were two stakeholders with mutually incompatible demands. This provided a powerful excuse for the British to delay independence. The transformation of the goal of independence. The nationalist movement goal shifted from winning freedom for a united India to negotiating the terms of separation. The cabinet mission plan of 1946 was the last attempt to preserve unity, but it failed due to mutual distrust between Congress and the League. The culmination, partition and its aftermath. The League's final impact was the partition of India in 1947. This was the most traumatic and violent event in modern South Asian history, resulting in the deaths of hundreds of thousands and the displacement of millions. It left a permanent legacy of hostility between India and Pakistan, leading to multiple wars and a continuing arms race. Within India, it cemented the constitutional principle of secularism as a direct rejection of the two nation theory, but also left behind a complex and often troubled relationship with its own Muslim minority. Source integration, a grand narrative of the freedom struggle and the League's role within it, discovered in Bipin Chandra's Indian struggle for independence. The dynamics of the final decade and the road to partition are delayed in V.P. Menon's The Transfer of Power in India from an Official Perspective, and Larry Collins and Dominic Raperi, Freedom at Midnight, a Journalistic Account. Conclusion. You can write this in a short answer type question. Conclusion. The Muslim League originated as a loyalist counterweight to the Congress, leveraging colonial divide and rule policies to secure constitutional safeguard for a Muslim elite. However, through a process of political competition, ideological hardening, and strategic leadership, it evolved into a powerful mass movement advocating for a separate nation state. Its impact on the Indian national movement was decisive and destructive. It successfully fractured the anti colonial struggle along communal lines, redefined the terms of the independence debate, and ultimately forced the partition of the subcontinent. The League's history is a stark reminder of how identity politics, once institutionalized and mobilized, can fundamentally alter the political destiny of a nation. That's it for this video. We have completed the topic. You can write answers in a school and college level exam or any competitive exam from this text. It is sourced from popular and trusted sources and books. Okay, that's it. We'll meet soon.